everybody. I'm Eric Meyer from Instructor Summit. We're here to help instructors become better instructors so they can help more students enjoy the sport. So ideally, they go tell 3 friends and we grow our sport. Today, we're going to look at some data provided by a gentleman named Ray Phillips. This data is meant to be geared toward instructors digesting it and then using it with their students. It is very entry level in nature, and it is introduced to as if the instructor was the audience. So it's a combination of learning and understanding the data and putting it into a perspective as an instructor. How would I communicate that to my student? Okay, that allows a couple things. That makes sure that you, the instructor, are driving correctly, honestly, because data doesn't lie. And it allows you to give your student a target, a measuring stick to say, here's what's optimum, here's what you're doing. So let's get started. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a little bit about where this data resides and something you might want to subscribe to. And that's the Facebook Beginner Data Acquisition page. So here we are, the Beginner Data Acquisition resource page. This is the first place I'd go if you're new to data or you want to learn. The folks that contribute on here are gearing toward making that first sip of Kool-Aid very easy to do. As an instructor, if your student says, "Hey, I just got one of these," or "I want to do something with this," right? Or over here, an aim solo, stick them right to this page. Recommend this page. This will get them started. You look like a rock star, and it's a helpful resource to get going. So here's what we're looking at here. This Beginner Data Acquisition resource page. There's 650 members, many just like you. There's a lot of instructors on here. But here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you some education, again, in the form of an instructor understanding and giving advice to their student, advice or guidance or commands, recommendations. So a guy named Ray Phillips, get a little Ray commercial here. Ray Phillips, this guy right here, is from Precision Driving Analytics, shared this. He's one of the admins on here. He's a professional data coach. He is an excellent teacher and introduction to new concepts. Read his post, check him out. He's wonderful, and he's putting some wonderful information on here that will help you, the instructor, digest it as a driver to make you better, and also, and I'm here to help communicate that to you in instructor terms, because you not only have to learn it, you have to communicate it. So there's 2 things going on here. So the aim of Instructor Summit and of this post is to help you understand it and then put it to some practical use. So here we go. This is a GPS generated line, and most novice, beginner, intermediate students, green students, 1 students, they're focused on the line. The teaching of the curriculum is focused on the line, or the instructor is focused on the line, and perhaps only the line. So there's a couple neat opportunities here. I want you to see this. First of all, this is at Watkins Glen, and this is turn 1 that you can see down here. Turn 1 is a downhill, big, medium to faster speed right-hander. A lot faster speed for those that have driven it. But for new folks, new drivers, it's going to feel like it's really fast. Has a ton of track out on the left, paved track out. And what you see here is 2 different drivers. You'll see the blue driver taking advantage of that. And we'll say Larry, and I'm saying Larry because Larry's my cat, Larry Jr. Larry, you around here? Kitty, kitty. Okay, so I use Larry in all my examples. So Larry is your driver. Larry's missing the apex here, right? And what I want you to see is something. Every time this corner, this right-hander, and it could be any corner that you know about, there's going to be an apex in here somewhere, right? So one of the things that this track map helps us with is somewhere in here, Maybe it's over here, maybe it's down here, but it's pretty much in the middle of these two is the proper geometric apex. We're not going to get into super detail on exactly where this is, but for the most part, it's around in here. What we can see with Larry, your driver, is that he's off the apex, right? He came around it, and he also didn't use all the track out for whatever reason. He was timid, he was new, he's never been here, he doesn't know he can drive over there. This is your learning tool. This is your opportunity, Mr. Instructor. We might recommend to Larry, as an example, and this is for you new instructors, on an outlap, for example, and particularly an outlap very early on, like Saturday morning as an example, have him nestle up and nudge up to that right side of the car, which a lot of new drivers can't see, and they're often farther away from their target than they think. They might think that they're right up nestled on the curb. Remember when you first did it? That's what we all do. That's normal. You're typically better on the left-hand side on the curbing because you can see it and not on the right. But you have them nestle up to the right-hand side and kiss the curb on an out lap or the last lap of a session. That's the same way with over here with the track out, which is quite wonderful, and you need to use this if you're at Watkins Glen, but have them nestle up to that over there and drive on it at a slower, safer speed, and have a brief discussion afterwards in as few words as possible. And that might sound like, how did that feel? Was that comfortable? Larry, do you think you could do that again? Larry, would you be comfortable in driving that every time? Which is what we want to get to, right? So there is a combination of a visual training tool and then a kinesthetic and an auditory, because we're talking about it. This next part here, same information but represented. Now this is data, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what this is. Peter Krause asked over here, and Peter's a wonderful resource. He's been a chief instructor longer than, well, Peter's got some years in the industry, and he's very good. Tap into him. If you're in the VIR area, he's the subject matter expert at VIR, which most of you know. And if you're going to VIR as an instructor, you've never instructed, and you're a data guy, you need to contact him. He knows that place like the back of his hand. Peter asks Ray, hey, what are the colors here? What is this measuring? Brake pressure or long G? And what we see here is that Ray responds, hey man, this is long G, accel, and decel. A little bit about long G. Longitudinal G is what you do with your feet, right? It's backwards and forwards. It's fore and aft. Braking is negative. Accelerating is positive. So a positive long G would be accelerating. It's fore and aft. A negative long G would be braking. And if we recall the recommended standardized hand signals, that's a left hand up, right? A left hand up. Well, see, I'll do it like this so you can see it. In the periphery of your student's eyes, not in front of his face. That's just so he can see it. And it's looking like this for a brake. That allows you to show the release, right? Either more quick release or a nice gradual release with your hand pulling back, and then a throttle. And these are, by the way, the standardized signals that not only Motorsport Safety Foundation and your MSF Level 2 certification support, so that every student can see the same thing and not be confused, right? Some people are like, hey, I want to do this over here. Guys, we're trying to standardize the signals, right? And if you want to modify this a little bit, great, but don't try your own unique thing that says, hey, when I do this, that means brake, and when I do this, it means accelerate, because you're just going to confuse our marketplace. So brake, release, and throttle. And here's where you see that on here, right? Brake in red, transition or release in the tiny yellow. You can see where Larry missed the apex. We can also see where Larry got hesitant. Can you see that? You want to say this to Larry. Larry, I can see you got hesitant here because you went to the throttle, long G, longitudinal G, and you backed off the throttle, so it was neutral, neither accelerating nor decelerating. And then you went to brake, and that's because we ran out of track. Larry, we want to do this a little bit over here like this other driver in this reference lap. He comes in on the apex, a little more to the right. I'm going to touch the curb a little bit. We want to get a lot closer to it. We want to use all this track out. So we want our data to look like this when we're done. Does this make sense? You want to see this in yours as well as an instructor. If you have Larry's data, guys, you're probably teaching Larry's data and you think it's okay, and you're not optimizing or quite frankly, you're not driving optimally. So we want to see a break. We want to see a transition that comes off. Again, this is DE1. This is green group. This is novice. This is beginner. But we want to get the right principles and teach them the right way from the beginning. Not in advance, but just the proper way. And that proper way isn't brake, gas, brake, turn, right? So there you have it. Thank you, Ray Phillips, for supplying the data. So there you go. A little bit about line, a little about introductory data, a little bit about an additional way you can use data to, if you choose to, use data to support learning with your student. Don't let it be intimidating. That apex portion was pretty easy to digest and is a good place to start. That's it. I'm Eric Meyer for Instructor Summit. Stay tuned for more helpful videos for instructors that help make better students, that safer students, so they can go back to the office and the water cooler, tell 3 friends, and we can grow our sport. I'm Eric Meyer from Instructor Summit. We'll talk to you soon.